you. You walk up to me, start dancing to the music and the chase, like this was meant to be. Take my hand, I feel my heart beat, and I don't want this moment to stop. Time to go home, don't want this night to end. Yeah, about time we stop pretending. Come home with me, let's write a history. Tonight I'll make you see. It's all about us, it's all about us.
Hello, teachers, and welcome to Canva Hacks for Back to School. I am Amanda Cardenas, the CEO of Muddening Teaching, and I am thrilled that you are here for this webinar series. This is a 3-day series. Yes, you heard me correctly. We are going to go through 3 trainings, and each of the trainings this week is really focused in on the different components of the back to school process that I find to be incredibly important and transformative in building what I've called the 3 R's with students: routines, rigor, and relationships. These 3 things to me are the most important things we need to focus on and be intentional about during the back to school season. So as much as this is about Canva and having a great time and learning some design things, I only want you to take away from this webinar series what's going to help you either improve a routine, create long-lasting and bonded relationships, or set a tone for rigor and high expectations in your classroom. I'm also going to link for you a link to my original blog post where I outline my entire first 10 days of school. In that blog post, I talk about these 3 R's and how I use them interchangeably to have an intentional back to school. There is nothing like sifting through the clutter of the back to school process, and I don't want this webinar series to be just one more piece of clutter that you have to sift through. We are going to go through these trainings pretty quickly. And so I'm going to ask that you probably just watch straight through. Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to just jump in and do that. But know that I kind of need to keep moving in order for everything to make sense, and that I can come back around into the comments later and jump in and try to help you. But I will do my best to help you as we go as well. But we have a lot, a lot to get through in these couple of days. So I hope you have a copy of your workbook printed out. There are some reflection questions on there for you, things for you to think about as you're really kind of ruminating through the intentionality of what you're choosing to work on, what deserves its Canva attention. And with that said, let's jump into priority number 1. Of all the things in my back to school 10-day plan, one of the top priorities for me is the Meet the Teacher slide deck. And that's what we're really going to focus on today, are some fun, creative design ideas for the Meet the Teacher slide deck. So what is it, and what are some of the things that it serves? So the Meet the Teacher slide deck for me, and I explain this fully, not only in the blog post, but also in my full length course that I will be sharing with you about more later. I think that we need to remember that as much as we're having students get to know one another, we're having students share about themselves, we also need to share about ourselves. And I want to give you permission that it's not self-indulgent to do so. In fact, it really is going to break the ice, the first set of ice, right? If we can share about ourselves, we can share a little bit of our life story, the ups, the downs, the humbling moments and the hilarious ones. It's going to set a tone for our classroom, that this is a welcoming place, that this is a non-judgmental place, and that we are not only going to ask you to be vulnerable, but I, the teacher, am also going to be vulnerable. So these are the 4 things that the Meet the Teacher day and this slide deck have done for me. So first of all, it serves as a first impression on students. The slide deck itself, the style, the color, the energy, the content, the pictures, the things that we choose to include in this slide deck are setting a first impression. of ourselves to our students. They're coming into our classrooms sometimes with some preconceived notions about us. They've heard about us, or they have had siblings that have had us, or maybe you're looping and your students think they know you because they've been with you before. Maybe you're brand new and students don't know anything about you. This first impression is really crucial. And so having a beautiful, eye pleasing, and not even complicated, right? Some of this design stuff is not about being flashy or complicated. It's about being clean and put together, just like we would put together an outfit or, a basic hygiene routine. The same thing goes for our slide decks and the way that we present ourselves to our students. Like I said earlier, too, this is an important spot in modeling our vulnerability, what we share and how we share it, how we are able to express and demonstrate to our students our story is communicated not only through the stories we tell, but the medium, right? And the design that we use to tell that story. This lesson, and I will talk about this more in the blog post or in the course, depending on which level of involvement you are interested in. Sets the stage for one of my most important assignments of the year, and that's called Letter to My Teacher. So, giving this presentation is kind of like opening up a letter to students, and so that they are then ready to write a letter back to you. It also is an opportunity structurally to set expectations for behavior. It is not often that I stand in the front of the room and read from a PowerPoint. It's not. But to that point, there are plenty of times where I do need a whole class set of attention and I need to be giving some kind of direction or instruction that's whole class. So, this is kind of the first whole class instruction scenario that we get to go through. And I want to take my students through as many different kinds of learning scenarios as possible so that they are equipped and ready and understanding of what my expectations are in all these various scenarios. So this gives us an opportunity to explain what our expectations are and then put into practice, right, what we actually say that we mean. There are other chances during these first 10 days or so to experience other versions. So like tomorrow's training, we're going to look at stations. And so that's going to be a way for us to look at behavior in small groups and with transitions, things like that. So we're intentionally planning these different types of learning scenarios so that students can learn what my expectations are rather than reading it off of the syllabus, right? They're going to actually experience it. And I'm going to reinforce and reteach and reteach and reteach those expectations when things don't go well or do go well. We're going to get to experience it firsthand. So let's jump in with some fun design stuff. I hope that you feel kind of confident and organized in your intentionality, why you'd even bother with this slide deck, because if this doesn't sound like it matters to you, then there's really not a point for you to watch this, right? Like make sure that whatever you take in for the back to school season has a purpose, has an intentional way of being incorporated into your first 2 weeks of school or so. Let's go. All right, so once you are inside your Canva account, I am using the Canva account for educators. It is a free Canva account. And it has limitations, of course, within the programming, but I want to show you all of the different things that we can do. We are today going to choose presentation, but as you can see, we can do documents, whiteboards, social media posts, videos, print products, websites, all kinds of cool things. We're going to touch on websites and some other custom things in the upcoming days. But today we're going to go ahead and click on presentation. When you click that, you'll see a bunch of other suggestions that you can play with, and they're going to change by the size of the presentation, the type of presentation. There's even to make a game with students, a type of template already for you. But today we're going to just do the regular old 16:9 presentation. All right, and so when this opens for us, we are going to be ready to start creating our Meet the Teacher slide deck. If you would like, there are plenty of different template options to scroll through and play with that are already made for you. Tons of them. They're over here on the left-hand side. Note that where there is a crown, that is a pro feature, but the ones that are not, these are all free and good to go. So you just click on it, apply all 10 pages, and you now have a 10-page slide deck pretty much designed for you. And now my what I have to share with you, you can just take it or to leave it, whatever the things are that you want to do. What I'm going to share with you today, though, is through a blank presentation. So I'm going to undo that. And I want to teach you some things to do from scratch that are going to be fun ways of connecting with your students. So let's get started.
To the music and the taste, like this was meant to be. Take my hand. I feel
All right, so we're going to start with our first little hack here, and I'm going to teach you all how to create this cool little see-through effect. I mean, this has absolutely no bearing on students learning whatsoever. It's just kind of fun and cool and exciting to play with. So what I've done here is I've got my text and an element, a graphic, are overlapping in this cool kind of see-through way. So I'm going to start with our sample page. So this is what I feel like my slide deck used to look like for a long time. And so if we want to play, let's play. We're going to start by changing this font to something nice and bold. So I'm going to go over here to our fonts, and I'm actually going to type in bold font and hit enter. I've already done that, so that's why it's not doing anything new. But when you type in bold font, it's going to go ahead and just pull up all of the bold fonts. So you can just scroll through and find what you want to use. So let's see. I want to find something kind of funky. I'm feeling funky, everyone. Let's see. Ooh, that one was kind of cool. Where did it go? There's just so many. So many. How about we go with, ooh, this trend slab is kind of nice. I like that one. That's good. Meet the teacher. Maybe something a little bit, it's not quite bold enough, I think, for this effect. I think we probably want something a little bit thicker. I think would probably be best. What else do we have here to pick from? Let's go back up to the top. Okay, I'm changing our search from bold to display fonts. It's kind of the same way of saying something else. So, okay, here, this one's kind of fun. Gulfs. That's nice and thick. Okay, perfect. So we're going to go with Meet the Teacher, just like that. We can have it a single line. I kind of like having it 2 lines, but I would like them to be closer together. So I'm just going to go over here to line spacing, bring them a little closer together so we can get a little bit more meat out of this. Yeah, there we go. Meet the teacher. That looks nice. Okay, so let's create the see-through effect. Here is the hack. We're going to take this font or this text box exactly how it is. We're going to hit copy and paste. We're going to layer the pasted text right on top of the first text box, and we're going to click effects. In effects, we want to use hollow. And trust me on the hollow. Trust me, as long as everything is all lined up, we should be fine. The thickness can come back down to 0. We want it to just match what was behind it. And we are good to go at the moment. Now we need our element or whatever is going to be the item that's see-through. So let's pull something delightful. How about this little astronaut friend? He's adorable. He's super cute. All right, astronaut friend, we're going to make you up here. This doesn't make any sense, but it's okay. So we've got our 3 pieces, the first text box, the second text box that's hollow, and our element. Now we're going to play with our layers. Canva now has layers. So under layer, we're going to click show layers. And all we need to do is move our buddy in the middle of the layers. Would you look at that? So now here he is. We can move our astronaut wherever we like in Meet the Teacher. And if for some reason you do want to have maybe thicker lines, now that you see how it is, we can play with the thickness here, right? It's a little bit easier to read. Maybe we want to move this over, Meet the Teacher, right? Okay. Maybe the black little knee pads are not making him the best graphic, but you still understand how to do it. And then you can kind of play from there. You could do polka dots. You don't have to do graphics. You can do any kind of element that makes sense. So remember, you can play here all day long. Let's see, sparkles. Let's just do some sparkles, right? Something silly. This is kind of a cool one. It doesn't really match what we're doing. But something a little bit more subtle would also be nice here. So we're going to head over to layers, show our layers, and move that in the middle. So that's actually really cool. I like that one. It's not quite as stark. Yeah, that's cool. Cool, cool. All right. So that's it. That's the hack. And I hope you have fun playing with any of your title slides and using this effect, moving our elements in between our text. All right, so as you're thinking about all these different ideas of what you can do for your Meet the Teacher presentation, I'm sure there's a space where you might want to include a quote of some sort, something that inspired you, a quote from a favorite book, a quote from something that you've said to students or will say to them over and over again during the semester. And I wanted to show you this really nice little blurred background type of hack here because it just looks really nice. It stands out and it gives you some versatility in terms of creating presentations. So, what we're working with, I'm going to kind of deconstruct this for you because that makes it easier to build. We have, of course, the text. We have our quote. We have the who said it. I go where the penguins go. It's a very famous quote. Don't you know it? I'm going to move them over for just a second to show you the other pieces. I also have a white square rectangle that I've set to an opaque setting, and that's what creates that pop for the quote. We have that white box there. And then we have a photo. We have a graphic. This graphic is blurred. So I'm going to kind of show you how this is done now from the beginning. So you're going to start with this graphic, whatever you have in your background. You're going to click on it and hit edit photo. Under edit photo, there's an option for you to click that says blur. Your blur can be less blurry to more blurry, however you like it, however you want your puffins to appear in this text. So I'll put it at 37. Then we have this square. This is an element rectangle. You're going to just take it right from here under elements, lines and shapes. This is where I got it from. And once you're in here, this button at the top right is going to be where our opacity lies. So our transparency. Right now it's set to 50. And that's what we've got. We can do more or less. It's all your preference. I've got it right there in the middle. And then we've got this, whoops, hello. We can also lock these elements, but we're trying to give you guys all the cool tricks as fast as we can. So we put the text here and our person who said it there. And you've got a fun little blurry background effect. Something else I love sharing in my back to school Meet the Teacher slide deck are some of my favorite things. This is where I really find a powerful opportunity to connect with students and for them to get a peek into the things that make me happy and excited. And so I wanted to just give you a couple of ideas and lay out fun suggestions for this particular topic. You could do this in a lot of different ways. But I've combined some elements here into this slide that I think really stand out and are totally different from what we would have normally had with like a graphic on the side and then a bullet point list on the right. So I want to walk you through all the different elements on this slide deck. I'm also going to show you in present what this looks like. So let me hit present. So you can see this is when I'm presenting, this is the actual view you would have of this particular slide. So we've got the backdrop. We've got the text, we've got some animated elements, and then a cutout selfie with an outline. So let me show you how I made all of these because I think you're going to like some of these different tricks for a favorite things type of slide. So first of all, the background, right, pick whatever you want as long as it's related to the favorite thing. And then these text boxes are so cute and I'll show you how they are made. So right now they're grouped, but this is just the combination of a shape. This is this shape right here. It's got kind of the curved corners of a square. You can adjust the size fairly easily, right? Cropping it in and out like this. I've chosen the colors that came from the backdrop and came from the stickers so that everything is really cohesive and matches nicely. So when you click on the colors, let me show you this. Under color, something really cool that I like about Canva is that the photo colors will pop up here. So all of the colors that are in my presentation are available to me on this palette as a place to start if I'm not really sure how I want to do color. And I can really play and have a lot of fun with that. So right now, the color I'm using is this kind of salmon color. I can also click on that and grab a dropper. This dropper allows me to pull any color from my design. So let's say I wanted this gray. I can pull that gray and have it exactly match the backdrop. I can pull from this coffee cup this peach color that I really like. I can, from my shirt, grab that purple if I wanted it to be that color purple. And then, of course, you can always hit undo to get back to where you were. The other thing that I did with the box is that I did again use the transparency. So we talked about this earlier in our video. Transparency is right here. We can play with how dark and how light. Here I did what is around 80. I like that. I think that looks nice, but you can mess around with it as you like. So these are separate. So we have our text box. I'm going to go ahead and hit Shift and I'm going to connect it to this one. I'm going to hit group. Now I can move them around really easily. Okay, so now it is time for coffee. I've shown you how I did the text. You know how to do a background, I'm guessing, hopefully. If not, we can address that later in the week. Let's talk about these animated elements. So under elements, you're going to use this magic word. It's not really magic. You just need to know what to look for. And what we're looking for are stickers. Stickers, for the most part, are going to be the animated things that you want here in this type of presentation. So I typed in coffee sticker or sticker coffee, either one. And here we are. So this is going to be what comes up the first, right? Here we go. Here we go. See all. So stickers are sometimes flat, but they've got the cutout, which is what I like, which is what makes them stickers. And then a handful of them will be animated as you move through. Remember, with the Canva educator account, not all of these elements are free. Some of them are part of a premium package, so you can't have all of them, but you will know based on this crown. But if the crown is there, that's a pro item. So don't click on those. Use the ones that are free. You can see this is the one that I'm using right now. There's this one here. This is cute. This I don't know what has to do with coffee. But there are all kinds of stickers here available. And stickers, like I said, will give you that cutout effect, but also give you a lot of animation options, which are really just fun and dynamic for a presentation. I also used these stars that are kind of bursting out behind me. And it's really lucky that you learned about layers in the past a couple hacks ago, because this is where we want to kind of tap into what we learned about layers. If we look at our layer tab, this is where you can move things around. So, right, if this was in front, it would be covering my face, right? Which is cool. Like maybe you want it to cover your face, but maybe you want it to be behind the body. Now, right, it's just popping out from behind me because I've played with and moved the layer, right? So easy. And then I've got my little coffee is bouncing up and down right on top of me. I do want that also on top of me because it shows my favorite thing. Now, those are the easy steps inside Canva. Me, right? So here's my little selfie, my little cutout that looks like a sticker as well, kind of popping off of that realistic background. I like that this very real photograph of a coffee shop is contrasted by the playfulness of these stickers. In Canva Educator, right, the Educator version, there is not the option to remove background. I will show it to you in case you have a different account, but background remover is inside Canva for pro users, but it's very easy workaround if not. Take whatever photo you have and you're going to take it into this website, remove.bg, remove.bg. I will link that for you guys in the comments. Remove.bg is where you can get this exact photo pulled up and put it in. Once this is in, though, we can play with the way that it appears. So, still under Edit Photo, I like to go to where it says Shadows, and then I click Outline. My outline is I'm using white because I think that that just makes the sticker pop right off. And then you can play with the size, right? So the size can go up and down, the angle, right? You can play. Let me move this over really quick because that's not really very helpful. Okay, my color is currently white. It could be a different color. I could go kind of in the salmon area. This is like a brown color. I don't know. I want to keep it white. White is definitely going to be there's a little bit of a lag when I'm doing this, guys, so hang with me. But the white is definitely what I want. There it goes. And I do like it kind of bold. So I'm going to make it nice and thick. But the size is where you can play with the thickness of that line and have it pop out from the backdrop. So, oh, maybe that's a little too thick. Let's take her down a notch. But the outline feature I think is so pretty and it makes it just kind of have that next level design feature. There we go. I like that right there. So there we go. Now it's time for coffee. What a fun slide that you can now talk about your love for coffee. There are interesting visual features for kids to look at during this presentation, and it's not just your average, ordinary slide. In earlier parts of today's training, the Meet the Teacher slide deck, right, at its heart, no matter how much time you spend on the visuals and how much fun you have in creation, the idea here is to create an opportunity where you are sharing pieces of yourself with students to create a window into conversation, to begin relationship building, to create and set a tone for your classroom, to be vulnerable about some things and create the fact that, you know, the sensation and the tone that is will be reciprocated, right? Like if you want students to be vulnerable and to raise their hand and to invest in conversations around your work and what you do, your content area, it's so important to take that first step. And the Meet the Teacher slide deck for me, and that day where I talk about it in my course, the first 10 days, I talk at length about this day because it sounds really trivial, I think, at first to think, oh, my Meet the Teacher slide deck, whatever, it's not a big deal. For me, it's very, very intentional. And I really try to choose things that not only showcase the best of me, but also the honest things about me, my mistakes, my flaws, my really nitty gritty niche details about my personality. And so one of the things that I like to share with students are lists, but lists can get really long and boring. So I thought about what's a fun way to show off a list about yourself that's not physically on the page looking like listing. And so this is called my summer stack. It's the stack of books that I read over the summer. I think looking at any kind of list of things says a lot about you, whether that's a playlist, whether that's a map with places that you've been. I think that's a really fun thing to share with students. Again, like to make those connections and create those connection points with them. You never know where those connection points are going to come from. So my summer stack, I want to just show you the tools and what's needed to create this animation. The hack here is really around animation. It's not, you can use books, you can use, like I said, records, you could use anything you wanted to relate to your stack or your list. For me, it's books. And so I want to show you what it looks like to students as I navigate through it. So we're going to go ahead and hit present. And so here I'm just hitting the arrow key to the right. I can also click with my mouse, but I'm going to click to my right. I'm book 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And so you can see I've hit the button 6 times and the stack keeps growing. It doesn't duplicate itself, right? It just keeps adding on and adding on and adding on. And that effect is really cool for those things, the books to come in one at a time. So I wanted to show you how I did the layering of that with animation. So this is probably going to be the more involved of the other hacks. So of course, if you have questions, I will try to address those in the comments later. I just kind of need to like go through and show you everything. And you might need to watch this again. And I understand if that's the case. So let's go back to the edit. Okay. This is a backwards planning master course. So what I did was I created the last slide first. So I began by creating the final vision. And so here is everything that I have at the end. My books are simply elements. So I will have this element is what I used. It's just the curved square and they kind of go drop off past the bottom a little bit. And then I added some rectangles to stylize some of the books. I added another oval for the labels, right? I just kind of created this however I wanted to. What's key is the animation. So you're thinking through the animation backwards. So this and this, the book cover and the book spine, are the last 2 things that are going to be animated. So we're going to start with that part. I do have these grouped together so that they animate together. So let's talk about animation. Okay, let me get rid of that. Perfect. Okay, so here we are. I have, let me get here. Okay, so this button up here where you see the fading circles is where we play with animation. So I have to click there to bring up the menu. We're using text animations right now because these are individual pieces. And I'm using, I believe, Stomp is what it was, right? Is that what it was? Where are you? Scroll. Okay, so here it is. All the way at the bottom was Stomp. What we want to do is click Stomp, and we also want to click on Enter. If we have both, then the book will animate out of the picture at the end, and we do not want that to happen. We want it to animate in as the last layer of all the books in my stack. So we're going to leave Stomp on Enter, and we're done. That's it. Super easy. Okay, the next thing we're going to animate is the book. Again, we're going to use the button here for animate. Choose the same or different. This one was, I used Rise. And again, on Enter, and we leave it as is. Okay, so this book and this book are animated. This text box, this bracket, and all of these books need to be animated off, right? Animate needs to be completely and totally turned off. Therefore, they are just standing alone on the page, so they don't actually move. So as long as we check that, we're good to go. Now, what we're going to do, and I think this is the easiest way to do this, is to use the duplicate feature, okay? So there are a couple of places that we can do that. I think the easiest way is to go here, right down in the menu. There's 3 dots, click right here, and click duplicate page. Okay, so there's the duplicate. We'll leave that one because it's done. We're going to come back here, and now we're going to go delete. And now our job is to animate Yellowface and then to add the book cover. So Yellowface is grouped already. We're going to click animate. We're going to give it, let's say, roll. We can roll it on Enter, and then we're done. That's it. I did want to add the book cover, so I can add the book cover. Let's see, I have it under my uploads, I believe. Yep. Here it is. 2 books that I read this summer. Okay, crop that out. Here's my book. We'll give it a little twist. Okay, perfect. And then here we're going to click animate again, and we'll use rise on enter. Fantastic. So let's test it by clicking present so that we can see, we want to make sure that these are staying still. This one's animating in, and that our next one, right, is going to have the animation continue. Okay, so let's take a chance and see if we did this correctly. Okay, so there we go. I hit the arrow, animated beautifully, animated beautifully. So we're all set. So you just continue the pattern working backwards by duplicating and then eliminating books, duplicating and then eliminating books, duplicating and then eliminating books. So I'm just going to delete what we made to show you one more time what this looks like, because I don't want you to forget the overall effect. And this is the overall effect that we're going for. Okay, so Book Lovers is in, Mad Honey, Salt to the Sea, Poet X, Yellowface, and If I See You Again Tomorrow by Robbie Couch. I hope this was an exciting and inspiring activity for you, and you give it a shot and let me know if you have any questions. Sometimes it gets tricky at the end of the day. If it's not perfect, it also doesn't matter. Remember that too. That's super important to remember. It doesn't matter.